I think the objective of the club always at trading time is to better position yourself from a list point of view. So what does that mean? Quality players if they're available, and being able to secure them. But you're always going to have to give up something to get something. So I think this year in particular we're in a good position from the point of view of not having a lot of players of our own who are on the table, but the opposition's lists, there are a lot of players who are sort of available if the right deal could be done. So I guess we went in there to secure some high grade talent if we could. I guess the fans get news secondhand, and well, they might get it immediate, and in some ways, with tweets that go out, but inside the bubble, so to speak, is periods of waiting around, and then a flurry of activity through phone calls. Like a phone call might spark off a situation where all of a sudden the player becomes available, and then you go into negotiations as to what's fair and reasonable, and can you accommodate that, and who else is interested, and who else wants to buy into that player in particular. So it's never straightforward. I think with players you deal mainly through their player agents. So any interest may come about sometimes through them. Sometimes they may have a particular player who wants to move, and sometimes a CEO or a footy operations manager or a list manager may have the relationship with that particular agent, that then they're probably the best conduit to start the conversation. So I think it's a combination of people. I think a footy club would always like to think they can have a direct conversation with their own player in particular if it looks like they're going to move. Sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes that ends up being directed through their player agent, and certainly if you're trying to woo a player to your footy club, then it's important that the senior coach then has a conversation with that particular player at the right time. So we would never have a situation where there was a player that we wanted to bring to the Lions and that Justin wouldn't have contact or be able to speak to them at some stage.
He plays his 50th game next week, and that's normally the mark where you say the apprenticeship is over. Patfull won the last two BNFs. He can be relied on, and there's the goal they were after. They're on the board.
Well, I personally first became aware of Joel's interest in moving probably at the start of the trade period, and that was brought forward mainly by his management, saying that he had a desire to move to Sydney, and that if he could move to Sydney immediately, that would be his preference. So once that was put to us, then we certainly looked at what was the option for Joel, and as it worked out, when you've only got two clubs involved, Sydney or GWS, then you're only dealing with two clubs, and then when one of those clubs is out of the picture, then you're only dealing with GWS. With Joel, we initially looked at some players that might have been a swap, but there were certain players that we'd asked for in relation to the swap with Joel that GWS weren't prepared to move, and as a consequence then you go, well, okay, is it just a pick, or is it a pick and a player? And then you start negotiating around that, and then we decided that we felt that the pick at around about 2021 that we ended up getting was fair and reasonable for a player probably of Joel's age. If he's a lot younger, I would have thought that might have been a bit different, but we thought that was a fair and reasonable deal. He leaves a gap in our defence, that's for sure, because of how he's played over the journey. I guess with Justin Clark's now going to be a third-year player, and the form last year of Darcy Gardner, even Jordan Burke, who's a rookie, is capable of playing in that sort of role. So even though we will miss Joel, we'll certainly think we can cover it.